Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a short, intimate sharing of mine on concept of predatory publishing versus the method of evaluation of the predatory list. What is predatory publishing? When a journal publisher willfully violates the standards of responsible scientific publishing for the purpose of receiving high publication fees at a short time, then we have a problem of predatory publishing. Ladies and gentlemen, there are two defining characteristics of predatory publishers. One is lack of transparency and intention to deceive. What is meant by lack of transparency? The website does not list down real business address. The fees are not posted to the public. And then as a writer, you will only know that you are being charged exorbitant fees and there is no way to get out from there but to pay. There is no peer review. There is quick publication, among others. That's lack of transparency. What about intention to deceive? The publisher claims to have impact factor for the journal, but the metrics are bogus. There is a claim to be double-blind reviewed when actually it is not. The editorial board members do not even know they are listed, or they do not function as editorial board. Much worse, they are not qualified. So, the idea of Jeffrey Beall on predatory publishing is good. I was one of the supporters for this movement in 2013. He was even my peer reviewer for one of the articles on predatory publishing. We communicated via email. I invited him to give a talk, and he agreed, but on the last minute, he tried to back out because I was the first person in the Philippines to organize a conference on predatory publishing and academic journals. It was attended by researchers across the country, and the main speakers were actually Dr. Isagani Cruz, Dr. Roberto Padua, okay, among the others. Now, why is the concept very good? Because indeed, it is true, there are predatory publishers who are not responsible or only after the money, and they pollute the academic environment. They should be stopped to protect academic integrity of the scientific community. And I joined Jeffrey Beall in that movement. Okay. The issues in the Beall's list centers on inadequate methods which do not follow the rigors of evaluation research. Because for evaluation to be valid, there has got to be informed consent of the publishers that they are being assessed. And there is no research tool upon which the conduct of the assessment is made. So there has got to be a tool that people will fill up so that we have data. There is no evidence that he has that. The results are never communicated to the publishers and the public, and the publishers have no involvement in the collection of data, such as submission of quality assurance documents to declare their journal management practices. So therefore, Jeffrey Beall made a very good conception of what it takes to become a predatory publisher. He has all the parameters. And the parameters are well understood by him. He listed it down in his blog, but he has not gone to the level of putting them together into scientific rigor. So his criteria are in his head, definitely yes. But are his criteria in the instrument to evaluate? There is no evidence for that. In short, Beall's list is only a list and nothing more. In fact, one of my, should I call, distinguishing marks for people who do not know research is their belief in the list. Okay? So what about Jeffrey Beall's method? Among all the listeners who are here today, I want to tell you that every week he publishes his blog from scholarlyyowa.com. And I was able to track down all of the comments. So the progression of his blog since 2011 until 2014, when he stopped publishing his blog. Why did he stop? Because he was able to commit what we call as libelous writings. Because why libelous? Because he needs to prove in court that he had solid evidence to back up his claim that a journal is predatory and therefore should not be patronized by the global community of scholars. So, isinampa siya sa korte and he could not produce because he did not really have good methods to speak of. He did not have the evidence. So, sort of, in order to dissipate the case, he had to agree to take down his blog. That is why he stopped. And he was no longer accessible. He could not anymore comment. He could not anymore give speeches on predatory publishing. In short, he was grounded to a halt. Okay. I think that it's a very sad state because in the first place, he had a very good idea to speak of. Now, why can't he not develop very good methods? In the first place, he is not a researcher, not a scientist. He is a librarian. He wrote a lot about predatory publishing from his point of view. But then again, a good idea is not enough unless you have very good science to back it up. All right. So there is no screening like evidence that the complainer has published in the journal and to send that complaint to the journal for answers by the managing editor. You see, in his blog, people would report to him that they have heard that this journal is not doing well and that it is it fits the description of predatory publishing, which is coined by Jeffrey Bill. But then again, there is no opportunity on the side of Jeffrey Bill to validate whether this person is a victim. Because unless you are a victim of such journals, you would not really know if a journal is predatory. Because when we speak of quality of journal publication, we are talking here about internal dynamics. For example, peer review. There is no journal in the world that publishes the results of peer review. No, because that is internal to the journal. So the quality merits of a paper usually are not known to the public. They are within the purview of privacy, okay, of the journal. So if the only means to validate whether a journal is predatory based on the website, then definitely that is not right. That will never hold water in court. So he goes to the website of the aforementioned journal being complained upon and decides right then and there to add a title to his list. The longer the list, the better he feels about his work. Okay. Bial has no other people to help him do a valid evaluation. He claims a committee exists, but no such committee members came forward to confirm. And that is the sad part about it. Now, I will stop sharing because I'd like to continue orally to you so that I can explain very well what I want to happen next. I do not want to denigrate the contribution of Mr. Jeffrey Bill on the matter of predatory publishing kasi maganda talagang idea niya. So, since the predatory list is not a scientifically valid list, here is what you can do as researchers and students to avoid potentially predatory journals without using the Bill's list. One is check on the journal's metrics. What does this mean? You just go to Google, search the title of the journal that you want to publish your paper into, and then you go to Google Scholar Metrics, and then you check the H5 index. So you just type in the title of the journal in Google Scholar Metrics. There's a search box there, and then you are going to know whether it is found there. If it is not found there, ibig sabihin, the journal does not contain any single article with 5 or more citations to at least one article. All right. And then check whether the title of the journal is in Imago of Scopus. Because in Imago, there is always data on the metrics of the journal, the impact factor in the last 2 years. And then you can also check the journal title on the journal citation reports of Clarivate Analytics. Second, author metrics. Search the name of the author in Scopus, author database, and Google Scholar citations. You can also search the name of the author in Publish or Perish by herzing.com, because the list of publications and the age index of the author will reveal the quality of the writer. The third one that you are going to check is article metrics. How many citations the article got as indicated in the Google Scholar. The more citations, the more credible is the reference source. Indexing company, that's the number 4. What are the global distribution channels of this journal? Is it part of Brookwest, EBSCO-Host, for example, St. Gates Gale, Clarivate Analytics, Scopus Elsevier? Because these companies actually provide for what we call content selection board, an independent body of scientists that they hire in order to pass a judgment on the merits of a proposed journal to be included. And when the journal passes the scrutiny of the journal content selection board, then they would recommend its inclusion. All right, so that's the one. So what can the journals do on their end in order to avoid being labeled as predatory? So I would like to make a suggestion here. Suggestions rather. One, there is a need to include a policy for non-predatory practices in the editorial policy. So I created this. I think I'm the first one in the world to do that. There is a paragraph in the editorial policy of the journals I manage and the journals that I am a consultant to include non-predatory practices. Essentially, lifting from Jeffrey Beall what he conceived to be characteristics of predatory publishing, so that the journal itself has a declaration that it will not become one predatory publisher. Second, translate the predatory publishing concept into a survey questionnaire with corresponding Cronbach alpha, exploratory factor analysis, and confirmatory factor analysis to make sure the questionnaire is robust and reliable. So I did that. I created a questionnaire, and I used the questionnaire to analyze and to investigate my own journals. And indeed, there were practices there that were identified as by Jeffrey Beall to be not sound. And so we implemented the measures in order that we could correct them. And that's a good part of his idea. Okay. So you don't want to fall victim to potentially predatory journals. You can do the following. One, you can write the managing editor if they can release to you, because you are the client, the 3 copies of the peer review reports as proof of review. If they will not tell you that they can release the peer review results, then do not go into that journal. Don't submit your article, because for all we know, they do not really have a peer review. Second, ask how much is the fee prior to proceeding to publish. If they will not tell you, and they will tell you that we will only tell you after you pass the standards of the journal, and then we will tell you how much you're going to pay, then do not believe in that. Because while most journals charge only $300, they will charge you as much as $2,000 or $1,500. That's too much to ask for a journal without Q1 or Q2 quartile of Scopus. And then third, ask for the cycle time. Avoid journals that promise you fast publication. Get away from journals that are like that, because there are no shortcuts to quality. Number 4, search in Google the title of the journal. Search in Google the title of the journal plus complaints. Okay, journal title, you type in plus delisted from Scopus. Because if that journal has been delisted by Scopus, it means that per annual evaluation, that did not measure up in terms of current standards of Scopus. That's the point there. Okay. All right. So on the whole, what is my take on this? On a personal level is that the idea of predatory publishing is correct. I have no question on that. the methodology of the BL's list is not sound and therefore is not valid. So no person of right, integrity, character, and research competence should believe on the Jeffrey Beal list. But rather, because we know that predatory publishing exists, we have to be careful regarding one, the selection of our references, that our references should be written by authors who are well cited in the field and recognized scholars, and that the article that we are citing has been cited several times, and that the journal that published the article has been cited very well by other scholars and is indexed in international bodies, okay, with good reputation. And so right then and there, you know that you anchor the empirical evidences of your research based on sound references. And thank you very much, Dr. Clare Robles, for the warm and gracious invitation to give you my sense worth of, first-hand knowledge about predatory publishing. I like this topic because I really am able to know about this on a first-hand basis. Thank you, and a pleasant good evening to all of you.
So we are now done with the topic of Dr. Hinaro V. Hapos, the concept of predatory publishing versus the method of evaluation in the BIAL's list and experiential sharing. At this juncture, I believe that we are all excited to get to know our speaker. So for us to introduce our research speaker, help me welcome Dr. Farnzovitz A. Atelian, the AMSUG's president.
Good evening, everyone. To complete for tonight's event on best practices of identifying credible journals from predatory journals. Tonight, allow me to introduce to you our distinguished speaker from the international research arena and editor. Isa siyang interdisiplinaryong mananaliksik sa agham panlipunan at sosyolingwista. Kasalukuyan niyang tinatapos ang kanyang doktorado sa Humanidades at Komunikasyon sa Universitat Oberta de Catalonia at nagpapakadalubhasa sa sosyolingwistikang kritikal. Bahagi din niya ang interdisiplinaryong grupo ng pananaliksik sa language, culture, and identity in the global age at nagsasagawa ng mga pag-aral na kung saan nagtatagpo ang multilingualismo, migrasyon, araling interkultural, edukasyon at pulisyang pangwika na pampamilya. Kasabay nito, isa rin siyang visiting doctor researcher sa Department of International Studies ng American University of Sharjah sa United Arab Emirates. Sa Pilipinas naman, tumayo siya bilang guro sa programang Araling Filipino sa De La Salle University kung saan nagtuturo siya ng mga kurso sa araling pangwika, kultura at media. Itinalaga rin siya bilang honorary fellow ng Office of Policy Research and Legal Services ng Bangsamoro Parliament. Isa siya sa mga patnugot ng librong Environment, Media, and Popular Culture in Southeast Asia. Nanilbihan din siyang tagapamahalang patnugot ng studies ng ethnicity and nationalism at bahagi ng patnugutan ng LLT Journal, a Journal on Language Teaching, Gankara, Indonesian Journal of Language and Literature Education, and Malaysia Journal of Media Studies. Interesado rin siya sa mga linguistiko at kultural na aspeto ng araling pangkalusugan, antropolohiya, linguistiko, araling pagsasalin, at kulturang popular. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our speaker for tonight's event is none other than Mr. Jekanaya Druesbach. A round of applause, please.
Mayang gabi sa tanan. No, anyway, sharing points ko, katulad ng nabanggit ko kanina, discussion on collaborative and interdisciplinary research, sobrang bilis lang. Then identifying credible conferences, at saka identifying credible research journals, at saan, yung sabi sa akin ng nanay ko, si Dr. Sharon Mendoza, magbigay daw ako ng mga listahan kung saan makahanap ng free credible research journals. So, yun yung tatalakayan ko din mamaya. No? Okay. So, yun. on collaborative research, basically, we are already over the traditional interdisciplinary or single disciplinary research, no? Dahil nga yung mga problema natin ngayon sa hindi lamang sa loob ng Pilipinas kundi sa buong mundo ay intersectional. They involve a lot of perspectives, a lot of sides in one story, and at this point in our civilization, the human civilization, kailangan na magtulungan ng iba't ibang mga academic disciplines, no, para matugunan yung mga problema natin sa buong mundo. Let's say, for example, the COVID-19 pandemic, no, hindi lang naman ito problema ng mga doktor, no, problema din namin itong mga linguists, mga language researchers, problema din namin ito ng mga cultural researchers, ng anthropologists, problema din ito ng mga nasa public administration, no, ng mga logistics people in business. Long story short, dahil buong mundo naapektuhan ng COVID-19 pandemic, lahat ng disciplines, problema ang COVID. Hindi lang siya basta problema ng mga taong nasa medicine, no? Kaya nga encourage tayo na magsagawa ng collaborative research regardless sa kung ano yung mga academic disciplines natin, no? And actually may benefit yung pagsasagawa ng interdisciplinary research, no? Na kung saan yung research team, they comprise of researchers from different disciplines, no? And makikita natin dito sa particular na ito na slide ay the more interdisciplinary a research project is in the long run, no, in the long term, no, it will have more impact in the academic publishing world in general at saka in real life situations, no. Let's say, for example, engineering and biology, no, sobrang laking impact niyan according dito sa data na nabanggit ko among other academic disciplines, no. So academic publishing side, no, in the long term sa mga interdisciplinary research, they will have more citations, mas mababasa siya ng mas maraming tao kasi nga yung references na ginamit at saka yung context na ginamit sa mga papel ay galing sa iba't ibang mga disciplines, no, among other things. Ayan. And then makikita natin sa slide na ito, no, kung saan yung mga academic disciplines na madalas that goes into interdisciplinary research, they get to have more citations in the long run, more impact in the long run, mas mapapansin sila mas mapapansin sila lalo in the future, no. Yung highest dito na naka-label ay yung convergence ng social studies and social science of medicine, no. Tapos language and healthcare, for example, no, sobrang relevant din ng language and healthcare ngayon. Kaya parang magtataka kayo, no, parang paano ba magko-collaborate yung mga linguists, mga language majors at saka mga doktor at saka mga biologists, mga epidemiologists, no? Pero nagagawa nila yung mga research na yon, no? Bahagi ako sa mga ganung klaseng research project, and yun yung mga naging impactful talaga ng mga projects, no? Kaya inaanyayahan natin ang lahat, no, na makipag-collaborate hindi lamang sa mga kapwa natin nasa loob sa isang disiplina, pero yun, let's try to get out of our comfort zones, get out of the box, and try to solve things, no, together from different perspectives, and makakahanap talaga kayo eventually ng convergence, no, para masagot yung mga bagay na kinakaharap natin. Actually, marami sa mga Nobel Prize laureates natin, yung mga Nobel Prize in Physics, Chemistry, Medicine, etc., etc., madami sa kanila ay interdisciplinary researchers, no? May mga nanalo ng Nobel Prize in Physics, pero ang background talaga nila biology, background talaga nila engineering, among other things, no? So very interesting itong mga data na ito, no? Ngayon, tutungo naman tayo sa discussion proper nung paano tayo makahanap ng credible journals and research conferences. Yung speaker kanina, actually sobrang comprehensive na ng sinabi niya. Hindi ko alam kung, may madadagdag pa ako ng ilan. No? I mean, may dadagdag ako ilan kaunti, pero comprehensive na yung sinabi niya. Pero ayun, gusto ko lamang i-emphasize na not all international research journals and conferences are the same. Kasi ang reality kasi marami sa mga Pilipino yung nabubulag sa word na international. Kapag nakita nila yung word na international, sa tingin nila prestigious na ito, parang okay, attend tayo sa conference na ito kasi parang labeled siya as an international conference, magpasa tayo sa journal na ito kasi labeled siya as an international journal, no? Pero katulad nga nung sinabi ng speaker kanina, no, dapat gumawa tayo ng due diligence natin, i-check natin yung credibility ng mga conferences at saka mga journals na pagpapasahan natin. For example, no, nabanggit din ng research kanina na ng speaker kanina na yung mga predatory journals at conferences, actually mayroon din tayong tinatawag na predatory organizations mismo, no, na kung saan they make money, no, money making venture sa kanila yung pag-publish ng mga fake na journals, pag-establish ng conference kahit saan-saan, yung let's say for example, nag-establish ng organization yung isang tao, tapos makikita mo involved pala siya sa iba pang mga organizations din, no, parang international association in this and that, no, pero predatory din pala yung organization ng isang tao, no, para mapalabas na uy, credible person ako sa research kasi involved ako sa maraming organizations na may nakalagay na research, na may nakalagay na international association of this and that, no. So yun, kailangan natin tandaan na anyone can easily make websites, no. Ako limited yung knowledge ko sa technology kung ikukumpara sa mga computer science majors, IT majors, no. Pero katulad nila, kaya ko rin gumawa ng website kasi sobrang dali na lang gumawa ng website ngayon. Sobrang dali lang gumawa ng organization ngayon. Actually, kung mayroon ka lang ilan na mga kakilala, fill up kayo ng mga forms, no? Set up a little bit of capital, mag-register sa SEC, no? Actually, marami pang organizations diyan na totoo predatory talaga, hindi pa registered sa SEC, among other things, no? So kailangan natin tandaan, hindi lang mayroong predatory journals, mayroon ding predatory conferences at mayroon ding predatory organizations, no, na kung saan ginagamit ng mga tao yung na-invento niyang organizations to make themselves look credible, no, sa ibang mga tao, no. So kailangan natin tandaan 'yan. And by the way, no, sinasabi ko ito not because I want to gatekeep, no. I do not want to gatekeep knowledge production, no. Kasi sa panahon ngayon na kung saan required na sa atin ang gumawa at mag-publish ng research, no, kailangan na nating maging critical sa mga bagay na ginagawa natin, no. Basically, kapag umattend tayo sa conferences or nakapag-publish tayo sa mga journals, no, hihingi tayo ng support sa institutions natin, hingi tayo ng funding para maka-attend sa conferences, hingi tayo ng funding para ma-publish yung papers natin. Merong ibang institutions na walang financial funding, so yung authors mismo, yung researchers mismo mag-iipon, gagastos ng sarili na lang pera, malaking gastos para ma-publish yung papers nila, para makapag present sila ng papel sa ibang bansa, no? So, yun, kailangan natin masigurado na yung pera na ginagastos natin, kasi nga Pilipino tayo, medyo maliit yung value ng pera natin, malaki para sa atin yung paggastos sa mga international conference na yan, pag-publish sa mga research journals, no? Kailangan natin masigurado na mapunta sa tama yung mga ginagastos natin, no? Na yung pinagagastusan natin, no, it brings value not just to ourselves but also to our institutions. Kasi nga, 'di ba? Yung representatives tayo ng institutions natin, kaya yun, mahirap na makapag-publish tayo sa predatory journals, mag-present sa mga predatory conferences. Wala itong madadagdag na values sa ating mga institutions, no? Hindi siguro kung hindi hindi ganoon ka-deliberate yung department nyo or yung human resource department nyo sa pagtingin ng mga promotion ano pa tawag dito, criteria, for example, no, malamang i-approve lang nila, pero para sa amin na full-time researchers, for example, na kung saan very strict yung ethical guidelines, no, sinisigurado namin na hindi kami maging biktima ng mga ganyang bagay kasi maapektuhan yung promotion namin, among other things, no. At syempre, no, when you publish in predatory journals, when you attend predatory conferences, when you are part of predatory organizations, no, hindi maganda yung image na yon para sa iyo. At saka kailangan nating tandaan na merong mga tao na nagsasabi na president daw siya, founder ng international organization na ganyan-ganyan, no, pero bakit hindi pa rin siya pinakikinggan ng kapwa niya experts sa field kung saan siya nabibilang? Hindi nga natin alam kung ma-consider talaga siyang expert, no, kasi baka gawa niya lang yung organization na sinasabi niya, among other things, no. So yun, we have to be critical on those kinds of things, no. Ayan. Then paano ba tayo makakahanap ng credible conferences, no? Ang pinakamadali sa lahat, no, na criteria, no, pumunta tayo sa events page ng isang sabihin na nating university or a higher education institution, no. Tingnan natin kung may ma-organize ba silang conference, among other things. Actually, may i-share screen ako sa inyo mamaya na listahan ng mga websites na credible talaga yung mga conferences, para doon na lang kayo maghanap. Hindi na kayo mag-search pa sa Google, kasi yung Google, search engine lang yan siya. Ibig sabihin, it collects all data from all over the internet. Pag nag-search kayo, ilalagay niya yan. So, ihahalo niya yung predatory at saka yung mga credible na conferences, credible at saka predatory na journals, among other things. So, kailangan natin tandaan na huwag tayo masyado umasa sa Google, huwag tayo masyado umasa sa Google Scholar metrics, kasi yun, Google can still contain predatory information, no? So siguro yun yung pang-counter ko doon sa sinabi ng speaker kanina. Magandang gamitin ang Google if you know how to use Google properly, if you know how to search properly, at saka kapag aware ka sa mga credible organizations, credible na people sa academic field mo, among other things, no. So sa mga researchers, kailangan pala natin tandaan, no, we have to be up to date with the discourses in our academic fields. Marami kasing mga researchers, no, hindi lang sa Pilipinas pero sa buong mundo, na yung tinuturo nila sa students nila nasa 2000s pa, nasa 1990s pa, among other things, no. Actually, yung data as late as 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, outdated na yon, no. Pagdating ng 2022, siguro ang pwede nating tingnan from 2015 to 2022, parang ganyan. We have to constantly update ourselves, no, para alam din natin kung ano yung current discourses, ano yung mga pinag-uusapan sa mga conferences ngayon, among other things, no. So yun, visit websites, conferences organized by higher education institutions. Then yun na nga, alamin din natin kung sino yung mga leading researchers sa fields natin, kasi binibigyan tayo ng conference funding ng institution natin, or kung wala tayong conference funding, nag-iipon tayo para may panggastos para makapunta sa conference, no. Ano ba yung mga conferences na ina-attendan ng mga leading researchers, mga top scholars sa field natin, no? So, yun na nga, gusto kong i-emphasize, dapat kilala natin kung sino yung credible leading top scholars sa field natin, hindi lang yung kung sino-sino man dyan na scholars na kesyo founder daw siya or president daw siya ng International Association na ganito, ganyan, no? Malalaman naman natin kung kung credible yung isang tao or professor or scholar, syempre kapag yung work niya pinag-uusapan mismo at saka big part na siya nung literature na pinag-aaralan natin among other things, no? So ayan, look for the same research conferences kahit within Southeast Asia lang kung gusto niyo talaga lumabas ng Pilipinas. Kung gusto niyo sa loob ng Pilipinas, syempre madali lang naman malaman kung sino yung mga leading scholars sa field natin sa Pilipinas. Bumisita lang tayo sa mga leading schools, no? Halimbawa, kung sa engineering and technology, nandiyan naman yung MSU IIT, no? Sabihin natin sa social sciences and humanities, no? Nandiyan naman yung UP Lasal, Ateneo at UST, among other things, no? Kasi ayun, tingnan lang natin kung saan sila umaattend, attend na rin tayo doon. Kung internationally, sabihin na natin communication accommodation theory, kasi yun yung specialization ko, si Howard Giles. Siya yung nag-conceptualize ng communication accommodation theory. Sino pa ba yung associated sa kanya na the other researchers na nag-publish tungkol sa communication accommodation theory? Tingnan natin kung ano yung organizations na tinatalakay yung particular na theory na yon, saan umaattend yung mga scholars na closely associated kay Howard Giles, among other things, no? Then ayun, conferences organized by respected and recognized academic organizations. Yun, magbabanggit ako sa following slides at dito na nga i-screen share ko mamaya sa inyo yung browser ko para makita ninyo mismo yung anong itsura ng mga bagay-bagay na ito, no? Pero just to show you for now, no, ito yung mga credible conferences, screenshot nyo na lang para may record kayo, no? At saka recorded naman ata yung video, so hingiin nyo na lang sa organizer yung video na ito para makita nyo yung links among other things, no? So ayun, Easy Chair, yung call for papers ng Easy Chair, ipapakita ko sa inyo mamaya. Lahat ng nandoon ay credible conferences. For people like me who are linguists and researchers of language studies, nandiyan yung linguist list. Then kung gusto niyo na let's say for example mag-present around Southeast Asia, so merong conference central pages yung University of Malaya, University of Science Malaysia, Unimas, nakalimutan ko yung pangalan ng Unimas, University of Malaysia Sarawak, Kasetsart University sa Thailand, Universitas Indonesia, among other things. Then organizations under sa Philippine Social Science Council, members ng International Science Council, ipapakita ko sa inyo yan mamaya, at saka members ng Association of Asian Social Science Research Councils, among other things. So yun, isi-screen share ko ngayon yung example ng mga nabanggit kong websites para malaman ninyo kung saan bibisita para sa mga credible na conferences na ito. Anyway, we have more than enough time naman to discuss kasi 45 minutes yung binigay nila sa akin, ano? Saglit lang. Okay, ayan, Easy Chair. Ayan. So dito sa Easy Chair, actually yung Easy Chair ay ano siya, ano lang siya, online service lang siya na kung saan yung mga conference organizers dito nila basically ibibigay yung instructions sa mga tao, sa mga interested people na mag-present sa conferences nila. And ayun, paid service kasi ito, yung mga predatory journals, hindi naman sila willing na gumastos sa mga ganitong mga bagay-bagay. So, masisigurado natin na yung mga nandito sa Easy Chair, yung mga call for papers dito ay credible talaga sila ng mga conferences. So, makikita natin dito later on, mga universities, credible organizations yung gumagamit. And hindi lang siya para sa isang particular discipline. For all academic disciplines ito, yung mga universities all over the world, mga credible academic organizations, CFP ang ginagamit nila para mag-call for papers at saka mag-collect ng abstracts para sa mga conferences nila. Makikita natin dito, may artificial intelligence, may tourism, hospitality, may business, may IT, no, big data, humanities and social sciences, andito, lahat-lahat nandito na, no? So, easy chair, very good basis para sa mga what's this? Very credible na research journals, no? Tingnan natin yung mga examples ng current call for papers na mayroon, ano. Ayan, makikita natin dito, Engineering International Research Conference, virtual ito. So kung may engineering people dito, kasama na agricultural engineering, systems engineering, mga ganyan-ganyan, no? Pwede pa kayo magpasa ng abstract hanggang July 30, no? So ano ito, virtual conference ito. So that's for engineering. Tingnan natin yung next. Ito naman, tourism and hospitality, no? So business, online din ito. Pwede kayong magpasa kung interesado kayo sa ganyan, June 30 yung deadline. What else? Tingnan natin. Sobrang i-cover natin lahat ito. Sa Davao naman, on IT education. So hybrid siya. Kung malapit kayo sa Davao, pwede kayong mag-present dito. Or kung gusto nyo online, pwede din online. No, I think ito yung parang Philippine Society on IT education ata ito, no. Ayan, and then online naman ito sa Vietnam. Ayan, organized ito ng isang university, and yung proceedings niya, it will be published by a credible publisher, no. So as far as I know, credible Vietnamese university yung nag-organize niyan, no. What else? Ito, online para sa education, literature, and ethics. Pwede pa kayo magpasa ng abstract kung may education people dito, literature, philosophy, ganyan. What else? Ito, tourism ulit sa University of Utara, Malaysia. Online din ata ito as far as I know. Pero kung hindi, if you are interested to go there, then you can probably ask funding from your institutions. No? What else? Ito, online naman ito, on SDGs ng isang Indonesian university. No? So kung may social development people dito, interesado kayo mag-present ng paper on sustainable development, ayan, this is a good conference for you. No? What else? Ito, another sustainability thing, pero tapos na yung actually tapos na yung conference pala kasi April 12 na ngayon. Calls for papers for linguists, ayan, for language researchers, linguist list. Ito yung itsura niya. So ito yung listahan hanggang mga conferences hanggang August 2024. No, so pagka credible organizations, they organize conferences way ahead of time. No, so makikita din ninyo kung saan yung places, etc., etc. Then ayun, conference na natendan na namin ng nanay ko, no, sobrang ganda din ng venue ng organization, itong interdisciplinary international conference ng USM sa social sciences, no. So lahat ng nasa social sciences and humanities, including business, research, pwedeng pati education, ganyan pwede, no. Universitas Indonesia, ito yung sinabi ko sa inyo kanina, punta lang kayo dito sa search nyo lang, Universitas Indonesia Conferences, then may listahan sila ng conferences na gaganapin soon. 2021 pa lang yung nandito, so baka soon 2022 maglalabas sila. Ayan, University Malaya, upcoming conferences for 2022, past conferences, nandito din among other things, Unimas, University Malaysia Sarawak, ayan, for 2022. Ayan, 2021, nag-host sila ng maraming conferences on language, tourism, information technology, business, ganyan. Sa Thailand naman, ito din, for the sustainable development people, no, the sustainable development goals, among other things. Not sure if this is online. At tapos na pala yung paper submission, so hindi na kayo pwede magpasa. Then, credible organizations all over the world. Not sure kung familiar kayo dito, pero ang International Science Council ang pinaka-prestigious na council of academic organizations sa buong mundo, no? Ito talaga yung pinaka-credible ng parang alliance ng academic organizations sa buong mundo, International Science Council. Punta lang kayo sa our members. Nandito yung listahan ng mga credible na mga organizations, academic organizations, national research societies, among other things sa buong mundo, no? So i-search din lang a region, yung kahit yung region lang, then lalabas na dito lahat, no? I think there are more than 100 members from all continents except Antarctica, of course, among other things, no? So International Science Council, visit nyo yung mga organizations na yan. I'm pretty sure every single year yung mga organizations na yan nagko-conduct ng mga conferences every single year. Ayan, International Political Science Association, International Sociological Association, kung saan member ako ng Language and Sociology Research Group, International Studies Association, among other things. Sobrang dami, no? Soil Science, Chemistry, Psychological Science, Nutrition, Materials Research, blah, 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 blah. Lahat. Nandyan, no? Philippines, no? Philippine Social Science Council, National Research Council of the Philippines, kung saan member ako, among other things. So, lahat ng nandito, lahat yan credible organizations, lahat yan credible research societies. So, yun, hindi na kayo mahirapan na maghanap ng conferences. And then, para naman sa social scientists, no, nandyan yung Association of Asian Social Science Research Councils, na kung saan, no, nandito yung listahan ng mga leading na research societies sa Asia Pacific, no, kung saan yun, bahagi ako ng Philippine Social Science Council, particular organization specifically, at saka ng Philippine International Studies Organization, where I am a part of the management committee of the steering committee, no. Of course, pinakamadali sa lahat for conferences within the Philippines, Philippine Social Science Council, nandyan, Linguistic Society of the Philippines, Philippine Economic Society, blah, 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 blah. Hindi ko na babasahin, pero sobrang dami. Agham Tao sa anthropology, among other things, no? So, yun. Para hindi na kayo mahirapan kung saan maghanap ng credible conferences, nag-spoon feed na ako ng mga organizations na pwede ninyong basahin, puntahan, bisitahin para maghanap ng credible conferences para hindi sayang yung mga gagastusin ninyo para sa pagpunta sa mga conference internationally, no? And sa pag-umattend kayo sa mga conferences ng mga organizations na yan, research centers na yan, research societies na yan, diyan talaga uma-attend yung mga leading scholars sa mga academic fields natin, no? So makikilala nyo sila, dati binabasa nyo lang sila. Yung experience ko dati nung college ako, masters, binabasa ko lang yung author na ito, pero nung umattend ako sa conference ng ganito ganyan, uy, kilala ko na to, world leading scholar ito, nakilala ko siya in flesh, etc., etc., no? So you add value to your credibility as an individual researcher, no? Ito yung lagi ko sinasabi sa lahat, no? When you publish in when you publish in credible research journals, when you attend credible conferences, among other things, you will become a credible researcher yourself. Makikilala ka ng ibang tao, papakinggan ka ng ibang mga tao. They will invite you to a lot of things, no? Pero yun, ironically, wala masyadong nag-invite sa akin sa Mindanao, no? Puro UP, puro Ateneo, puro Lasal yung nag-invite sa akin sa Pilipinas, no? So, yun. Anyway, ngayon naman, discussion on identifying credible research journals, no? Sabi ng speaker kanina, yung nauna, parang siya daw, according to him, siya daw yung unang naglagay ng parang anti-predatory practices policy sa mga journals niya. No, hindi ako sure kung gaano katanda na yung mga research journals niya. Hindi ko alam kung gaano na siya katagal gumagawa ng research. But actually, no, mayroon ng internationally accepted standards on ethical publications ng research at academic publishing, yung Committee on Public Ethics. no? So siguro i-share ko sa inyo 'yon, no? Yung Committee on Public Ethics, ayan, nako, close ko na lang ito. Ayan, kita ba yung Committee on Public Ethics, Publication Ethics pala, sorry. So itong Committee on Publication Ethics, ito yung organization na nag-set ng international standards pagdating sa ethical publishing standards ng academic publishing companies, no? So lahat ng mga best practices tungkol sa ethical publication practices, no, sila yung nag-establish talaga globally, no? So hindi ko alam kung bakit nasabi ng speaker kanina na siya daw kuno yung nagsimula ng ganitong klaseng best practices, but actually meron ng COPE, no? 25 years na silang nag-exist, no? At makikita natin dito sa COPE yung mga members ng mga credible na publishers all over the world, no, among other things. Ayan. Paano natin ma-identify yung credible research journals? Tama yung sinabi ng speaker kanina, actually, na pwede na lang tayo dumiretso sa sa Scopus at saka sa Web of Science, sa Clarivate Analytics, para makita natin yung mga listahan ng mga credible research journals. So, tama naman yung sinabi niya. At gusto ko lamang ipakita sa inyo kung gaano ka-stringent, ka-strict yung standards, specifically ng Web of Science, no, yung indexing platform ng Clarivate Analytics, no. Kaya hindi basta-basta na maging part ng maging indexed sa Web of Science yung mga journals. Hindi basta-basta na ma-index sa Scopus yung mga journals, among other things, no. So actually, yung process na ito, it will take years, no? First of all, dapat yung journal, nag-i-exist man na sila for a minimum of 3 to 5 years. Dapat consistent yung publication nila. Dapat, kung sinabi nila, magpa-publish sila every June and December, dapat every June and December lumabas yung mga publications nila, among other things. Dapat yung laman ng journals, dapat yung authors galing sa iba't ibang mga countries, masigurado na may peer review policy yung journals, dapat umayon siya doon sa standards na sinet ng COPE na nabanggit ko kanina, among other things. Tapos yung editorial board, dapat hindi lang siya galing sa isang organization at saka sa isang country. Kaya nga maraming mga research journals ngayon na gustong ma-index, nag-i-invite sila ng mga scholars from different countries kasi yung editorial board composition dapat inclusive siya, international, hindi lang dapat UK lang, hindi lang dapat America lang, hindi lang dapat Pilipinas lang, no? So dapat yung composition, at least a part of the editorial board, yung editorial board members galing sa iba't ibang mga countries, no? Kaya makikita natin, let's say for example, sa isang organization na kung saan isang editorial board kung saan ako kabilang, itong Studies in Ethnicity and Nationalism, highly ranked journal ito, no? Yung managing editors pa lang namin galing sa iba't ibang mga countries, iba't ibang mga institutions, no? Among other things, no? At saka hindi madali, actually hindi basta-basta nagiging part ng editorial board. Syempre, dapat kilala ka na researcher sa mga fields na kung saan ka nagiging bahagi. And yun, tandaan natin na may mga organizations, halimbawa, may individual, nag-establish siya ng organization, mag-establish din siya ng journal na kung saan siya yung editor-in-chief or part ng editorial board, no? Dapat maging critical tayo sa mga ganoong bagay kasi predatory practice yon, no? So, wag tayo masyado mabulan doon sa mga sinasabi na founders, ganito, ganyan ng International Association of this and that, no? Kasi hindi natin alam, baka predatory thing din yung ginagawa niya. Yun na nga, hindi natin, wala kasing set guidelines talaga katulad ng sinabi ng speaker kanina sa kung ano ba talagang standards ng predatory, pero may mga organizations na that did their due diligence para hindi na tayo mahirapan. So nabanggit ko kanina yung mga listahan ng associations na kung saan pwede kayong tumingin ng mga credible na organizations para umattend kayo ng mga credible conferences nila, among other things, para hindi na kayo mahirapan. So ganun din dito. sinasabi ko lang na madaming factors ang kailangan tingnan, due diligence, para makita na credible yung isang organization or hindi. Kaya pasalamat tayo sa Scopus, pasalamat tayo sa Web of Science at ibang mga indexing platforms. No? Going back. The easiest way, no, or criteria para makahanap tayo ng credible research journals, bumisita tayo doon sa mga journals na published ng universities. No? Sa Pilipinas, slowly, may mga universities na naglalabas ng kanilang mga journals. No? May mga established na tayo na journals, no? Sa UP, sa Lasal, sa Ateneo, yung UST, binuhay na nila yung mga tawag nito, journals, among other things. No? Sa MSU IIT, I think may journals din sila. There are certain what's this, universities sa Mindanao na I think yung CMU, ano nga yung CMU, Central Mindanao University, yung USTSP, parang yung journals nila ay good for science and technology, 'di ba? Among other things. No? So yun, bisitahin natin yung mga research journals that are based in higher education institutions. Ideally, yung mga tao na nagma-manage ng mga journals sa mga institutions na yan, alam yung ginagawa nila, no? Ideally, no? Then katulad nga nung sinabi kanina nung speaker kanina, bisitahin natin yung Scopus at Web of Science. Ipapakita ko sa inyo mamaya yung sinabi niya. Kasi nilagay ko rin siya dito. Then para naman sa Scopus, since hindi siya libre, yung DOST, no, Department of Science and Technology, pati National Research Council of the Philippines, nakipag-ugnayan sila sa Elsevier para magkaroon ng libreng access yung mga Philippine institutions. No? So kausapin niyo na lang yung research office ng mga eskwelahan ninyo, baka may access sila sa Scopus, no, para double check niyo kung Scopus index ba talaga yung isang journal or hindi. Then sinabi din sa akin ng nanay ko na magbigay ako ng listahan ng mga journals na pwede kayong magpasa na walang bayad, no fees. So, tatalakayin din natin mamaya yung ASEAN Citation Index, no, na accepted ngayon, yung standards na nag-set ng credible research journals sa Southeast Asia, among other things. No? So yun, kapag nag-publish kayo dito sa mga journals na nasa universities, sa index sa Scopus, Web of Science, index sa ASEAN Citation Index, no, you have your papers have more chances to appear in online search engines. Makikita nyo sa Google and more chances to be cited, no. So yun, kaya maganda na magpasa kayo sa mga journals na nandito, no, para makita din, madali ma-search online yung papers ninyo at mga pangalan ninyo. No? Then ito, national indexing organizations in Southeast Asia para masigurado na up to global standards yung mga journals natin. So nandiyan yung Thai Citation Index na nagsimula ng trend na ito sa Southeast Asia, na ginaya ng Malaysia, nag-establish sila ng Malaysian Citation Index, tapos ginaya din ng Indonesia sa pamamagitan ng Indonesian Science and Technology Index. Then yung Lasal, in-establish recently yung Andrew Gonzalez Philippine Citation Index. Yung Philippine Citation Index, wala pa siya masyadong laman. I think less than 100 journals pa lang. Pero kasi kaunti pa lang talaga yung mga research journals sa Pilipinas. So kung may i-establish na research journal yung institution ninyo, yung eskwelahan niyo, yung university niyo, after 2 years or 3 years, kapag consistent yung inyong publication, pwede kayo magpa-index sa Philippine Citation Index at matutulungan kayo ng Philippine Citation Index na ma-index yung journal ninyo dito sa ASEAN Citation Index, at saka may guide din sila para maging Scopus Index at Web of Science Index yung mga journals ninyo. No, para naman sa mga business researchers, mga administration, ganyan, nandiyan yung Australian Business Deans Council Journal Quality List. Ipapakita ko lahat ng mga bagay na ito later on sa browser ko. Then for leading humanities and social sciences journals all over the world, nandiyan yung ERI Plus, no? So yun, ipapakita ko sa inyo ito ngayon. May oras pa ba ako? Sa tingin ko meron pa naman. Ayun, may nagtanong ng question. I will try to answer that later. Pero ayun, close ko muna ito. Ayun, just to show everyone an example kung ano ba yung itsura ng Scopus, Web of Science, etc. So kung may account kayo sa Scopus, no, scopus.com, try nyo mag-register kung libre or hindi. Pero as far as I know, dati hindi siya libre. Hindi ko alam kung libre na siya ngayon. So kung may account kayo sa scopus.com, pwede kayong, let's say for example, pumunta sa sources. Ayan, tapos i-search ninyo kung, let's say for kung Scopus Index, totoo ba talagang Scopus Index yung mga journals? Kasi yung nabanggit ng speaker kanina, yung Simago, hindi siya updated masyado. Yung Scopus talaga na database ang updated, no? So malamang sinasabi sa Simago na Scopus Index ito, pero pag i-check, pag double check niyo mismo sa totoong Scopus database, diniscontinue na pala ng Scopus yon kasi nakita nila na predatory pala yung isang journal, among other things, no? So i-search nyo lang dito, mayroong 43,132 index journals ang Scopus, both journals na may bayad at saka mga journals na free, pero hindi nila nilalagay yon syempre kung may bayad or free. Basta masigurado natin yung 43,132 na ito, lahat ito ay credible journals. Tapos ito din yung sinabi ng speaker kanina, itong master journalist ng Web of Science, i-search nyo lang, no? Halimbawa, hindi nyo alam kung saan nyo gusto magpasa, no? Pindutin nyo lang yung search, then halimbawa, sabihin na natin category, kasi linguistics ako. So, i-search ko linguistics. Ayan. Tapos, country. Ayan. Sabihin na natin, ano ba yung mga top linguistics na journal sa Malaysia, for example. Example lang. No? Wala. No? So, language. Ayan. Ayan. Pag language, merong lumabas. Ito yung mga journal sa Malaysia na index sa Web of Science, among other things. No, search natin United Kingdom. Ayan, United Kingdom, lalabas naman lahat ng bakit wala dito Malaysia? Bakit walang United Kingdom? Ayan, sabihin natin United States. Baka may problema sa system nila ngayon, baka under maintenance sila. Pero ayan, some examples ng mga journals na publish sa United States, among other things. Ayan. Then, ASEAN Citation Index. Itong ASEAN Citation Index, naglalaman siya ng 661 journals. Do not quote me on this, but I think around 90% ng mga journals dito ay free, walang bayad, walang publication fee, walang submission fee, no? At saka nakakasigurado tayo na lahat ng journals na nandito, 661 journals in 10 Southeast Asian countries, lahat ito ay credible journals, no? Credible journals itong lahat, no? So yun, hindi na kayo mahirapan kung saan maghanap ng credible journal, libre. At least 90% dito libre, walang bayad, no? So yun, among other things. Yeah, okay. May question yung may tawag nito. Ayan. May question yung may dalawang questions tayong natanggap. Sige, try natin to tackle right now since we are on this. How are the publications of different institutions recognized by other institutions? How do they reconcile the gaps due to their biases and advocacies? Well, yun na nga. Yun yung problema kasi may institutions, let's say for example, sabihin na natin Harvard, Yale, Stanford, a lot of American universities, for example, leading American universities, actually hindi sila nagpapa-index sa mga indexing platforms na yan, Scopus, Web of Science, kasi umaasa sila doon sa credibility ng faculty nila, no? Which is totoo naman, no? At saka credibility ng mga tao na ini-invite nila na maging parts ng editorial boards, among other things, no? And how do they reconcile the gaps due to their biases and advocacies? Well, usually yung mga na ito, let's say for example, yung Australian business deans, Council, globally recognized siya na listahan ng mga journals na credible sa business administration, sa management, among other things. And yung hindi porket sinasabi na Australian Business Deans Council siya ay Australians lang yung bahagi. Actually, sobrang daming universities, institutions all over the world ang bahagi ng ABDC, nag-contribute at nag-assess sa journal quality list na ito, among other things. No, so yun, I'm not sure if I made sense in this discussion, pero in all of these indexing platforms, mayroong mga tao such as, let's say for example, in-house editors that check the credibility of all these publications, journals, book series, among other things, so they try their best na maging inclusive yung kanilang workforce. Yung workforce nila come from different parts of the world. Make sure na yung workforce nila are graduates from leading universities all over the world, para masigurado na mabawasan yung biases at advocacies nila, among other things, yung biases primarily, ma-reconcile yung gap sa biases. I'm not sure if I was able to answer your question, pero ayun, I tried. What are your proofs that Simago is not updated? Can you cite some of these? Let's try. Sige. Punta tayo sa Simago. Okay. I'm not sure if I know some journals. Sabihin na natin, ayan, Journal of Social Sciences. Tingnan natin yung Journal of Social Sciences kasi may fake na Journal of Social Sciences. Hanapin natin siya dito sa listahan. Ayan, this particular Journal of Social Sciences. At saka meron pang isa, So dalawang Journal of Social Sciences, okay. So kung titingnan natin itong mga Journal of Social Sciences, ayan, makikita natin na credible na actually itong second na Journal of Social Sciences na apparently ay indexed hanggang 2019, ay ginaya lang itong Journal of Social Sciences ng Kuwait University, Kaya pag pumunta tayo sa Scopus, for example, nawala yung Scopus kanina. Saglit lang. Scopus. So pag pumunta tayo sa Scopus, yung makikita natin ay yung Journal of the Social Sciences. Journal of the Social Sciences. Ayan. Ito ba yun? Hindi. I'm not sure. Hindi. Taylor and Francis ito. So this is a different kind. So maraming journals na magkakapareho yung pangalan. Journal of the Social Sciences. Ayan. So yun. Makita natin sa Simago, merong Journal of the Social Sciences, merong Journal of Social Sciences, tapos some enterprises pa, pero ayun, pag sinearch natin yun dito, hindi sila lumalabas, Journal of Social Sciences. Search natin science, among other things. So hindi siya lumabas. Ang lumabas lang na Journal of Social Sciences ay yung credible na published ng Taylor and Francis, So yun, we have to be critical of the things that appear in Simago kasi they put a lot of things here na tinanggal na sa Scopus, So they continue to put things here na tinanggal na sa Scopus, tapos medyo naloloko yung ibang mga tao. Ayan, may nag-comment pa na saan makakakita ng journal na ito kahit wala na siya, among other things. So I'm not sure if I made sense, but I hope I did. Does it mean that we have considered globally recognized are not really that inclusive? It depends. Sa current discourses that we are in academia right now, we have recognized that a lot of globally recognized standards are not actually inclusive. Kaya nga, since 2020 started, the decolonization movement in academia spread like wildfire, no? Kasi they exposed that academia, including these indexing platforms, are not inclusive. They are English-centric. They are Spanish-centric. Basically, they are centered in the Western world, in the European world, no? Pagdating or tapos kung sa Asia naman, they are centered in China, in Korea, and Japan, no? So yun, starting 2020 onwards, no, the decolonization movement, which is actually an ideological movement, no, in academia, no, parang expose this exclusivity sa mga standards. So yun, they are making sure now itong mga institutions na ito that they hire people from all over the world, kasi nga yung Scopus and Web of Science, for example, ano talaga siya, Western centric talaga siya, European centric talaga siya, among other things. Kaya nga yung ASEAN Citation Index, which is a composition of 10 citation indexes from different countries, no, they established this kasi a lot of journals that are published na hindi sa English, let's say for example in Thai, they use the Thai language, in Vietnamese, in Malaysia, in Bahasa Melayu, Bahasa Indonesia, even journals that use the Filipino language, no, hindi sila na what's this, na-i-index sa Scopus and Web of Science. So they established this indexing platform, established a criteria na pareho sa Scopus and ISI or Scopus and Web of Science, no? Then yun, masama sila dito, then they will help these journals from Southeast Asian countries na ma-index din sa Scopus, na ma-index din sa Web of Science, other things, no? So yes, you are right that a lot of globally recognized standards are not inclusive, which is why they are trying to revamp some things, revise some things to make sure that things are inclusive now, no? Kaya nga they get people like me to become part of these teams, these editorial boards, to make sure na hindi lamang nakaangkla sa Europe, sa America yung work na ito. Let's say, for example, when I invite reviewers for journal for article submissions na naka-assign sa akin, I usually give the review responsibility to scholars I know from the Philippines, from Southeast Asia, kasi palagi hindi tayo naiintindihan, no? And to make sure din na yung reviewers they are reviewing papers in the right contexts, kasi there are a lot of journals out there na submit ka pero yung ipapa-review nila American, so they don't understand the context of your paper, so i-reject nila kahit na tama naman yung method mo, for example, among other things, no? Maganda naman yung quality ng paper mo and so on, no? So yun, parang token move nila, okay, let's get people like me, put them in the editorial board of these prestigious journals so that they can assign people they know na credible then in Southeast Asia, among other things, no? So yun, going back to the discussion, ASEAN Citation Index, 600 plus journals, most of it are free, no? Thai Citation Index, a lot of it are free. My journal, the Malaysian Citation Index, most of it are free, no? Kung mag-ano kayo, papasa dyan, SINTA, itong Science and Technology Index sa Indonesia, most of it are free as well. I-double check nyo lang sa mga journals, no? Andrew Gonzalez Philippine Citation Index, since konti pa lang yung journal sa Pilipinas, konti pa lang din yung nagpapa index, no? Actually, itong one page lang na ito yung nagpa-index so far from UST, DLSU, among other institutions. So wala pang UP, wala pang Ateneo kasi bago pa lang ito, no? Then at ABDC for business, ERI Plus for humanities and social sciences, COPE, nasabi ko na kanina yan. Ayun, UP Diliman journals. I sincerely believe that we should submit our papers in our journals within the Philippines, specifically within these institutions, no? Kasi credible naman sila, pero yun, hindi masyado natin pinapansin kasi hindi sila international, pero these are very credible international journals. Ito, if a lot of your education majors, the Asia Pacific Education Researcher is one of the leading education journals in the whole of Asia Pacific. Ayan, APSSR din para sa social science, among other things. Ayan. Nakakalungkot na hindi mo masyado na ibahagi sa amin dito sa Mindanao ang iyong kagalingan at panay Manila-based HEI. Tama, no? Actually, valid criticism ito, no? Na a lot of sharing na nangyayari ay parang nakaangkla sa Manila-based institutions, no? Pero yun, sa kasamaang palad, marami sa mga let's say for example institutions, marami sa mga pinaka-credible na scholars, unfortunately, ay based sa mga universities na ito. Kaya nga nabanggit ko kanina that there are journals, let's say for example in MSU IIT, in USTSP, in Central Mindanao University, among other things, na credible. And actually sa ASEAN Citation Index, no, kung titingnan natin yung listahan galing sa Pilipinas, no, tingnan natin Philippines, makikita natin na actually comprehensive yung listahan ng journal sa Philippine Citation Index. Hindi lang siya nakabatay sa institutions that are based in Manila, but based in a lot of institutions in Visayas and Mindanao as well, no? Among other things. Pindutin nyo na lang, nandiyan yung Mindanao Journal of Science and Technology ng USTSP, Liceo Journal of Higher Education ng Liceo de Cagayan University, among other things. Recoletos Multidisciplinary Research Journal ng USJR sa Cebu, among other things. The Palawan Scientist ng I think Wesleyan University in Palawan, among other things. No, ito SDSSU ng I think Surigao del Sur State University. Ayan, index din dito, no? So yun, tama yung sinabi ng yung criticism nung nagsabi na panay Manila HEI, no? Pero yun nga credibility wise, most of the most credible journals in the Philippines at present, no, unfortunately, are based in Manila. Slowly, lumalabas na sa USJR, in a lot of Visayas Mindanao universities. And yun, it will take time for them to become as established as those in Metro Manila, no? But tama na criticism yun, actually. Kaya nga, yung criticism on, let's say for example, yung criticism on inclusivity within the Philippine research environment, very Manila-centric din siya. Kaya nga, ini-encourage ko yung maraming mga colleagues and a lot of different universities to establish their own journals in their own languages. Hindi lang dapat Filipino, dapat magkaroon din ng journals in Cebuano, in Hiligaynon, other languages, no? Para mas maging inclusive yung research environment natin, hindi lang puro Manila schools yung sa Manila schools magpapasa ng papers. Kasi madami namang credible scholars and researchers in a lot of institutions all over the Philippines. I am from General Santos myself. Kaya I also share your criticism. No? It's just that I'm based in a Manila university, but I completely understand. No? Oh, so si Sir Andy, andyan. Sir Andy, mayong hapon. Is there a way that we can make our journal available in the ASEAN Citation Index? Yes, sir. Sa MSU you can. May criteria lang sila na ano dito na I'm not part of ASEAN Citation Index. It's just that I'm aware that it exists. Pero ayun, you can submit your journal, no? If you think you set the parang naabot niyo yung criteria, nakapag-publish kayo in the past 3 years to 2 issues a year, among other things. They usually open ayan. So at present they don't accept submissions kasi they are doing re-evaluations of all the 661 journals. Pero eventually in the near future they will open the submissions. Just check the criteria, no? Then ayun, you can make your journals in MSU among other sa Ateneo de Davao journals, no? It can be part of the ASEAN Citation Index, no? So yun, at present for 2022-2023 they are re-evaluating everything kasi they are re-evaluating all journals every 3 years, I think. So hindi sila nag-accept ngayon, probably in 2023. I'm not sure. Pero i-double check na rin yun na lang yung criteria and always check ASEAN Citation Index. So yun, yeah, dagang salamat Sir Villa. Okay. So yun, yeah, going back sa ano, si Sir Villa ay ano din, he knows everything that I'm talking about. So since he's in Mindanao, he's in General Santos or Davao, you can talk to him about all these kinds of things because he knows all the things that I know and probably even more, no? So yun, credible journals where you can submit journals by subject ng Taylor and Francis. Tingnan nyo na lang, Springer, a lot of journals, thousands of journals, Palgrave Macmillan, tons of journals as well. Brill, sa Brill naman, they have 464 journals. Emerald Insight, they have tons of journals here as well. Sage, they have thousands of journals na credible, Scopus Index, etc. No? So, yun. Yeah, John Benjamin's specifically for linguistics, language research, a little bit of the social sciences. Elsevier, syempre, a few hundred journals, among other things. So, gispoon feed ko lang yung mga bagay na kung saan pwede kayo mag-check ng credible research journals para hindi na kayo maghanap pa. Kasi there are, as you saw, tens of thousands of journals out there, free pa, that you can publish and submit your ano nga. Ang problema nga lang, since these are very strict journals, medyo matagal yung publication process. It might take 6 months. It might take 1 year. Actually, I just received a acceptance letter last night for a journal, for a submission na ano na na-submit ko yun noong January 2021. Ngayon lang ako nakatanggap ng acceptance letter, no? So ganun katagal yung process, ganun ka strict. Pero yun, dagang salamat, maraming salamat sa pagpaminaw, pakikinig sa ating discussion.
Ayan. Thank you very much po once again, Sir Jeconiah Dreisbach, for the great presentation. Sa mga gusto pong magtanong, na nahihiyang magtanong, you can post your questions po sa ating chat box. Ayan. So this time po, let us now give the certificate of recognition to our resource speaker. And yes, let me read the content of the said certificate. Mindanao State University-General Santos City School of Graduate Studies. certificate of commendation is presented to Jeconiah Dreisbach for his exemplary contribution in sharing his expertise as research speaker during the conduct of webinar entitled Best Practices on Identifying Credible Journals from Predatory Journals on April 12, 2022 via Zoom video conferencing, signed by Beverly T. Garcia, DPA, Director, Office of International Affairs, and Dr. Ava Clare Marie O. Robles, Dean, MSU Jensen School of Graduate Studies. We would also like to give the certificate of commendation to Dr. Genaro V. Hapos. For our closing remarks, let us hear Professor Beverly Garcia, Director, Office of International Affairs.
Our esteemed speaker, participants, and research enthusiasts, you've been given a very good input and best practices on identifying credible journals and predatory journals, and such is a very good learning experience in how to bring your research studies to the proper venue that will impetus our research culture in our university. We commend the efforts of the organizers, to the participants, and to our reputable distinguished speaker, Dr. Dreisbach. Can't thank you enough, sir, for this opportunity. Hope we will have more engagement like this in the future. Thank you again, and good evening.